Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this week we have DoDonPachi SaiDaiOuJou. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From legendary shoot 'em up developer Cave, DoDonPachi SaiDaiOuJou originally released to arcades in 2012. It would receive a notable Xbox 360 port in 2013, and now in December of 2024, a version of that port is available for the Nintendo Switch, which is what we're looking at today. This is definitely our Christmas surprise of the year. The publisher, Livewire, had previously lost the rights to several of the Cave shoot 'em ups that they had previously published, and those ones were delisted from the eShop. So it was a bit of a surprise when they'd announced that DoDonPachi SaiDaiOuJou was coming to the eShop, though at the time it only mentioned the Japanese eShop release. So color me a bit surprised when I picked up that title and the very next day it's also available on the North American eShop, making this a very available title for everyone to pick up. So if you're looking to pick up this release, then definitely you can do so. However, there are a couple things to note. So it is basically the Xbox 360 version. If you already own the Xbox 360 port of SaiDaiOuJou, then you probably don't need this release, unless you like to have it portable. The other thing, it is not translated. This is just the bare bones Japanese version of the game. So most of the menus are easy enough to navigate, and that shouldn't go and be a problem, but it is something to keep in mind. With all that said, this is a title I recommend, provided you enjoy Cave shoot 'em ups or bullet hells. This was the last new shoot 'em up developed by Cave, and it also is known for having a very high level of difficulty. But if that's not a problem for you and you're looking for a game to dive into to master, this is definitely an excellent choice. Finding ourselves at the main menu, let's go over the various game modes before we dive into the gameplay itself. There are 4 modes you can play in the game, the first being the version Saya. This one is basically the Xbox 360 version, which changes up the gameplay quite a bit from the arcade original and also adds a lot of voice lines and character interaction. So it's a great mode to play through, but keep in mind if you don't understand Japanese you will be lost as the story is just happening verbally with no text. Then we have the Arcade HD. So this is the original arcade version, just upscaled to an HD format. It's a great way to play the game, but it is very challenging. And one thing to keep in mind, this does also have the overflow glitch in it, which the game is known for from a scoring standpoint. Then we have the version 1.5, which tweaked a lot of things from the original version. And lastly, we have the novice mode. So this is basically the easier mode, and if you're looking to dive into DoDonPachi SaiDaiOuJou, it's not a bad place to get started. In addition to that, we also have this shop. So as you play through the game, there's challenges under the Arcade HD mode that you can complete for coins. In addition to that, you also earn coins for every stage you complete throughout the course of your runs. You can use those coins in this store to purchase wallpaper to change on your background here. In addition to that, you can also purchase these game options, which will change up the game in some ways, mostly making it easier, but some of them could potentially make it harder. There's things like turning on auto shield, auto bomb, making the enemy shots smaller or your own hitbox smaller. So there's that as well. Another neat feature though, the bottom right option there, the one that costs 3,000 coins, if you get enough coins for that, that will allow you to play the fourth ship, the one that's in the version Saya, the Type D, in all game modes. There's also another store in there for like sound clips. If you're interested in hearing all the voice clips, and there are quite a few of them, then you can unlock that in this particular mode. So under the gallery, you can change the wallpaper here. In addition to that, you can also listen to the voice clips that you've purchased. For the purpose of showing off the game today, we'll be playing under Novice. The game does support 2-player simultaneous co-op, so we'll also be demonstrating the game that way. Starting the game. Once you're taken to this screen itself, pressing any button will bring up this menu. So before we start the game, another thing to note, all those game options you can purchase in the shop are shown here, and the titles for those various modifiers are all in English. So even if the descriptions are in Japanese, you can kind of figure out what they're all meant to be by these names here. There's also some great options for changing the game configuration as well as the screen and your controller, so keep that in mind. Starting the game, we're taken to your fighter select. There are a total of 3 fighters you can select by default without the 4th ship unlocked. There's a Type A, which is a straight shot, Type B, which has a sweeping shot, and then Type C, which is a wide shot. Once you select your ship, then we're next taken to our... Well, this option actually has a couple. So if you can turn on auto bomb here if you press down on the controller. In addition to that, you can choose your outfit. So the normal one increases the power of your main rapid fire shot. Then you have one that increases the power of your laser, and then the swimsuit, which increases both. However, it does raise the difficulty. So we'll go with one ship having a stronger shot and one ship having a stronger laser. And now we dive into DoDonPachi SaiDaiOuJou. For one thing, I do want to go and say the mech design in this series and in this game in particular is just awesome. So, but there is also kind of a problem with that, and I'll get to that here in just a moment. So now that we're actually in the gameplay itself, let's talk about the gameplay. So this is a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up, and it does go and support Tate if you want to have a setup that does go and support that. So this is something that you do want to keep in mind for this title. But as far as the controls are concerned, so we have one button that's your rapid fire shot, which will always give you your rapid. Then we also have our primary shot. So if you were to rapid fire that primary shot, you would still get your normal shot. However, it's actually pretty difficult to do that. If you hold that shot button down, then you get your laser, which also activates your focus movement, which allows you to more finely dodge around enemy bullets. At all times, you do have your hitbox available unless you've bought the modifier to turn that off and turned that on. So that's something to keep in mind. In addition to those 2 methods of firing, our shot and our laser, we do have bombs. And there's one other element on top of that, which is the hyper system. So you build the hyper up in a couple different ways, by collecting the B items in the stage, by collecting the star items, as well as also using your laser. The hyper starts at level 1 and will go up all the way to level 10. When you activate that, it will clear the enemy shots as well as make your shots more powerful, like so. It also increases your score, though in the original arcade mode and the and in novice mode, which is based off of the original arcade mode, your score multiplier for a level 1 is only going to be 1.1. It is significantly higher in the 1.5 version, as well as some of the timing changes tweaked with the whole hyper mode, so keep that in mind. The first boss itself is actually a relative easy cakewalk, whether you're playing, especially if you're playing novice, but even compared to the other modes, compared to the later bosses, it's a good starting point for the game. Once you finish the stage, you'll get your totals here. So as far as the star medals are concerned, there is an auto collect mechanic that's going on, provided you're using your laser shot. So if you're just using your normal shot, you will not pick up those star icons. However, if you use the laser shot, those will be auto vacuumed in. And even if you let go of the laser, if they're already coming towards you, they will continue that path towards you. It is possible to buy auto collect in the shop, so if you want to collect the star icons as soon as they appear, then that's something that you can potentially do. As far as the values of those are concerned, that happens to be based off of where your combo counter is at there, in the top left or right, depending on which character you're playing, so keep that in mind. As far as power-ups are concerned in the game, it's just something to go and touch on real briefly. There's only one power-up you'll ever see, and that is a bomb. There are no other power-ups in the game, so if you see a power-up, then it's definitely one of those things you'd want to pick up. Throughout the course of our stages, we'll always be encountering at least one mini-boss, and the larger bosses, mini-bosses, will have HP bars displayed at the top of the screen. And for the most part, that's your gameplay for DoDonPachi SaiDaiOuJou. The port itself is really solid, and even for the Nintendo Switch, with 2 players playing, it's still a really smooth experience with only the minimalist slowdown. So they've done a great job with this port. As far as input lag is concerned, it doesn't feel any worse than anything else that's available on the Switch, though I do realize the Switch isn't necessarily the best console from a standpoint of input lag. So your mileage may vary on that one. Still, it's a great way to be able to experience the title that is DoDonPachi SaiDaiOuJou compared to some of the other methods of picking it up, as it's no longer available digitally on the Xbox 360, and picking up a physical copy of it can be very pricey. Also, along those lines, there is not any information or news about a physical release for the Switch at this time, though in the future that could change. So as far as the minus flavors are concerned, the game is known for having an extremely high level of difficulty. It took forever after the game's release before someone actually 1cc'd it, so that's something to keep in mind, especially if that's a goal of yours. So it might not be based off of that information. I don't necessarily feel that it's a title for everybody. But on the plus flavors, well, a couple other minor things to go and say about the game. So I feel that the game is beautiful. All the various artwork that they have for the game, the backgrounds, the mech, all of that is absolutely gorgeous, and you're going to see absolutely none of it because there's way too many explosions and bullets and shots for there to really be the chance to truly enjoy that element of the game. So if you're here for the bullet curtains, then you're definitely in the right spot. If you're here for the beautiful artwork, then that's not really going to be there. There's also a major problem with there being a lot of talking when you're playing through the game, and at least for my purposes, after a couple runs, I did go and turn off the voices just so that it wasn't quite as repetitive gameplay wise. There is a lack of online leaderboards, and this is a bit surprising. The Xbox 360 version did have online leaderboards, but at least with the original release of the Switch version, there are no online leaderboards. It seems like an odd omission. In addition to that, the lack of translation, while not necessarily a deal breaker, is definitely a bit on the disappointing side. But on the plus flavor side, so I do really appreciate that this title has been made available for all in a relatively easy package. The game also comes with those 4 different game modes, which are all unique experiences. Depending on your skill level with cave shoot-em-ups, the novice might be unnecessary, but then you still have the arcade version, the 1.5, and the Saya version also to be able to dive into and experience. So really, you're getting great value there. Then you also have all those unlocks from the shop. If you're not necessarily looking for all the wallpapers, just picking out your favorites, then you don't necessarily need to buy everything. But still, there are all those game options and the voice clips as well that you can also purchase from the shop. And then lastly, this is a cave shoot 'em up through and through, so love 'em or hate 'em, I definitely feel there's a place in most people's shoot 'em up libraries for this kind of game, and this one would definitely be a great one to have. So with all that said, this one definitely comes across as a recommend from the chef, especially if you're a fan of bullet hells. And now we find ourselves at the end of this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, we want to thank you so much for joining us this week. We hope you have a wonderful week yourself, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. Merry Christmas.